I guess one thing I wanted to say is we've talked about a couple of common examples, but I think it's important for us to dwell on the future and the possibilities. If we can go to this one kind of an egg-like Venn diagram of the prospects of reconfigurability. You can see that we've drawn in the middle the digital systems that we've talked about, the computers, and then we have a series of rungs that have other possibilities. And go ahead to the next slide, because I really want to emphasize we have only begun to scratch the surface. This is what only what we have done today, which is digital. We've touched in microwave. We have still a long ways to go with microwave. And then with analog, we see examples of programmable systems on chip. But by and large, there's a large frontier of other things that we can do in analog. And the things to be interested in, or things to be aware of, is to focus on the things that are not covered up, the things that are the future. Programmable pathways. We actually had a paper in the special issue, the second one, on field programmable wiring systems, where we would have a wiring harness that could be programmed under software control. Now, normally it takes many months to build a wiring system, but using programmable wiring, we can build one in minutes. Furthermore, if the wiring harness is damaged, we can actually program the wires to route around the damage. So there's many exciting possibilities. And just as the field programmable gate array has, in my opinion, has been a very disruptive technology, it's actually affected our society in a very positive way. I think we have only begun to scratch the surface of the possibilities. And so I think what I want to do is now switch to that last slide to get, I think, all of us to think about the future of reconfigurable systems. So this is sort of a very broad-brushed idea of the evolution of reconfigurable systems, kind of a centennial view. As we go back to the 50s, we had the computer, the early ENIACs and the von Neumann architectures, the very first idea that there could be a programmable machine. And then in the 70s, as Alonzo mentioned, the PALs, the programmable array logic, those are the very beginnings of the field programmable gate array. Around the year 2000, and I think ideas went well in the past beyond this, but the idea of a software-definable radio was articulated and became more of a meme or a theme or a concept. And I believe probably in the next 10 years, we'll see the advent of multi-domain reconfigurability, where groups will be able to harness more and more phenomena. I guess one question is, how does this happen? Does the FPGA just annex all these domains, or do we evolve new systems? Yeah. So I guess one way to think about it is, what is your FPGA going to look like in 50 years, 30 years? And I think that's as likely a way it's going to happen as some other bottom-up approach. And you see with microfluidics, the so-called laboratories on chip, systems that can manage nano-droplet distributions in real time. Amazing stuff. And I think, I don't know if I'll be around to see it, but I think programmable matter 2050, I think, mark your calendar, it's going to be here in some shape or form. I think some idea like that. And so,
well, I'm going to say is that programmable matter does not have to be on a molecular level. I mean, you can have programmable matter go from very large things and that have a lot of functionality. So I think that's probably the level we'll see programmable matter in our lifetime.
Yeah, I think you'll see things that are inspired in the name of it, and it may not be the, if those of you have seen the Terminator 2 movies or the liquid metal, I don't know if it'll be quite like that, although we have seen recent press releases about groups that have actually demonstrated movable liquid metal. So, I mean, what is today's science fiction may be tomorrow's reality. We've seen it before. We'll probably see it again. And I think at this point, that was what we wanted to talk about. I guess we would like to be able to take some questions if any of the readers have submitted any questions. One of the questions, pardon me, that we have is, what does Moore's law mean for reconfigurable systems?
Yeah, what does it mean?
Well, first thing is to talk. I guess the first thing to comment on is that there's a lot of discussion that Moore's law is ending. That we're reaching the point where we can no longer harness the idea of Moore's law that was started in the 60s. That's one view, and I think what it means for reconfigurable systems is that we could see primitive building blocks that may be physically large today. Like if I have a programmable thermal switch, it might be large. There might be a new Moore's law for programmable thermal. And for microwave, like we've talked about reconfigurable antennas and fractal antennas, but what about pixelated antennas? What if we can make an image into an antenna where the ones are conductive and the zeros are dielectric? And so we could talk about a new Moore's law for that. I don't know if you...
Or maybe another access for Moore's law, in which you add the capability of reconfigurability, how fast you can do it, what granularity you can do that.
What will drive it is the market, right? I mean, if there's a large market for reconfigurable systems, that will drive something like a Moore's law. There will be a drive for greater functionality, lower power, all those things, and that's what I think what drives a Moore's law.
But basically, for those people who don't know Moore's law, because it's how to compact more of circuit, I would say, in a much smaller space. That's the idea, in case somebody doesn't know. So most electrical engineers do.
It was just an observation that every 6 to 18 months, I guess, there was a halving of the lithographic size in a circuit. So you get sort of square root of 2.
But also depends on the technology.
Yeah.
I mean, if we cannot fabricate things smaller, then Moore's law is useless.
And I think
it won't be a Moore's law.
Well, I think that's another important point. We didn't really have Moore's law until we had the integrated circuit.
Correct.
Once we had the integrated circuit, Gordon Moore in about 65 proposed an idea that we've come to take for granted. And it is true, I think, from the viewpoints of many in the industry that we've reached the end of that road. I would certainly suggest that we haven't really reached the end of the road, even for digital, because we have a third dimension. I mean, the optimizations we've done for a 2D integrated circuit may be coming close to an end, but we can thin and stack and use through silicon views and do many creative things. And I think, again, you'll see a lot of people in the industry who are looking at a third dimension where we can stack not just 5 or 6, but hundreds, maybe thousands of layers in the future. And we could see a Moore's law going out to 2050 if we actually got the same level of integration in 3 dimensions as we did in 2. Building reconfigurable systems into that mold is what's very exciting. Are we going to see this happening for more phenomenologies?